There are two things I love about video games: trophy hunting and cooperative multiplayer. Single-player games are great, and I have consumed so many unforgettable solo stories, but some of my best memories come from games that can be played together. Memorable titles like 007 GoldenEye, Halo, Army of Two, Left 4 Dead, and more recently Split Fiction act as keepsakes that we can look back on and be reminded of the person we played them with. That's what I love about Souls games, and even more so about Nightreign. FromSoft took a huge risk turning their most successful IP into a co-op roguelike, and while it's not perfect, I think they pulled it off. This may have been my favorite Souls game to trophy hunt to date, and although I won't be getting into a bunch of lore and development history because I think there are plenty of other channels who would do it better than me, I'm here to tell you why you should give it a chance. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, it would really help me out. So without further ado, I'm 7th Sage. When I was really young, I got an N64 that came with Ocarina of Time for Christmas one year, and thus began my spiral into walking the abyss of video games. This is my trophy hunting journey and a video in defense of Elden Ring Nightreign. First things first, I want to get a big disclaimer out of the way. If you don't have at least 2 dedicated friends to play with and plan to trophy hunt this game with randoms, you're unfortunately in for an uphill battle. There's no telling if you're gonna get queued up with the sweatiest, most bitchless unemployed Souls veterans or some brain-dead, loot-hogging jackasses who think they can solo Bell-bearing Hunter at level 1. The difficulty of this trophy hunt is for the most part completely random, and I highly suggest finding a Discord server or a forum with other solo players looking for a party, if that's the case. Hell, you can even come into my Twitch stream and say, hey, I like your video and subscribe to your YouTube channel, can you help me? And I'll stop what I'm doing and do a run with you. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, the game starts you off in a tutorial section where you play as Wilder, a tarnished warrior who wields a great sword and a shield. This is where you will learn all the basic mechanics and get to mess around with his skill and ultimate art in the form of a grappling hook and a deadly firebomb. I was fortunate enough to get into the Nightreign network test prior to this, so I basically had a grasp on everything already. After successfully dying to fuck-ass Margaret a couple times, you will awaken in a ruinous, vine-covered version of the Roundtable Hold, where you'll be greeted by the Priestess. Fans of the Dark Souls series will notice that she suspiciously looks like a Firekeeper, but we'll talk about that later. This is where you'll pop your first trophy, the Shrouded Roundtable Hold, and prepare to start matchmaking. From the get-go, there are 6 Nightfarers to choose from. The aforementioned Wilder, Guardian, Iron Eye, Raider, Recluse, and my personal favorite, Executor, a gentle and silent ex-Crucible Knight who wields a cursed katana capable of parrying enemies similar to in Sekiro. He also turns into a giant pupper. After a few gentle smacks on the training dummy and deciding which character you like best, it's time to start matchmaking. I decided to start off with Raider because of his Viking-like appearance, a passive ability that grants him hyper armor, and big bonk equal big damage. Depending on how your first few matches go, there's a few trophies that you're probably gonna pop, such as Relic for invoking the power of a relic for the first time, Replenish Sacred Flask for acquiring 7 flask charges, and if you're lucky, Tricephalos for defeating the Nightlord. And that's pretty much game. Great job. Platinum acquired, right? Wrong. Yeah, so I think we all knew there was going to be more than one final boss, otherwise this would have been a pretty short game. After a hard-fought battle with Cerberus Cerbersif, and celebrating with some brewskis with your broskis, the priestess cuts the party short by informing you that there are 6 other Nightlords to defeat. This will pop the Nightlords trophy and send you on your merry way to get into the real meat and potatoes of this game. Before you set out on your next expedition though, I suggest you talk to the priestess and hand over the pocket watch that you received, not only to reveal her as a playable character, but also to pop the Duchess Joins the Fray trophy. Long story short, she's not a firekeeper. Sorry. Part of me kind of wishes they would have picked someone else as an unlockable character because Duchess was one of the 3 Nightfarers you could play as in the network test, so it wasn't much of a surprise when I unlocked her, but her restage skill and passive ability that gives you a unique dodge makes her super fun to play, so I was just happy to finally have her. Next, you're going to want to buy one of the chalices from the small jar bazaar and equip it to pop the vessel trophy. If you have the merc for it, you can also buy the besmirched frame to unlock the final playable character, Revenant. Except, unlike Duchess, you're gonna have to fight her and win to be able to play as her, so good luck. Focus on defeating her summons first while dodging her discs of light, and she should be pretty easy to overpower. After questioning the morality of mercilessly beating the snot out of a small little girl and her friends who were just trying to defend her, you'll pop the Revenant Joins the Fray trophy. No, but seriously, she's so tiny, just look at her holding this giant hammer. There's no specific order you have to defeat the Nightlords in, and this is where the game really opens up to experiment with different relic builds and see what works for you. Just pay attention to the affinity damage that each boss is weak to, and make sure that at least one person in your party has a weapon with it, because it makes a huge difference. Don't get discouraged if you can't get past day 1 or 2, because each run is going to make you better, give you better relics, and help you understand the flow and pacing of each storm phase. I then set out after my next few expedition targets, popping a few more trophies along the way. I got legendary armament for picking up some giant's hair off the ground, and untold power for defeating 10 great enemies in a single run. I also popped Old Jail by rapid firing arrows into Slinky's ass crack over here, as well as True Arbiter for making a deal with the devil. After horsing around with Dark Drift Knight, clipping through the map to kill Gaping Jaw, and power stancing 2 rivers of blood to exterminate sentient pests, I had royally pissed off whatever outer god set the events of this game in motion to unlock the opportunity to fight the 8th and final Nightlord, as well as pop this trophy for Night Begins. Now let's talk about missable trophies. You'll notice there are these things called shifting earth events that alter Limveld's landscape quite a bit after defeating a boss for the first time. The reason I say these trophies are quote-unquote missable is because once they're gone, and will only pop up if someone in your party has that event active. Luckily, I only missed the crater event before I realized this and had a friend to mooch off of. I know some people aren't as fortunate as I was, so I urge you to get each one of these done before you beat the next boss. These events were so rare that I was even willing to sacrifice my entire run one time by going through the storm to get the trophy for it.
Good times, good times.
Recently, they updated the game with a patch that added Everdark Sovereign versions of certain enemies, and defeating one of these will unlock a merchant that lets you create these shifting earth events. Speaking of rare events, there are also trophies tied to raids, which are basically when a Nightlord invades your world randomly to ensue chaos amongst you and your teammates. The worst of these is definitely the Flying Locusts that spam AoE attacks, stealing a level from you each time you get hit until you find this little fucker and come here, you little piece of shit! These trophies aren't as bad as the shifting earth events because they still happen semi-frequently even after you've encountered them, but I would still recommend getting them out of the way as soon as possible. Most of them will be marked as a red area on the map and give you some pretty good rewards, so be ready to divert your course when they happen. In the midst of all that bullshit, I took a few pointers from my favorite elven archer Legolas and put some lightning arrows into Augur, the nuke-dropping jellyfish, and then stuck my rusty fishhook in Equilibrious Beast. After that, I bought some new druid for my main man raider to pop the Dresser trophy, and flambéed the Fissure in the Fog with a face that only a mother could love. I only had one boss left to check all the Nightlords off my bingo book, but I still had a little bit of cleanup to do with some of the other trophies. With the knowledge I had acquired from past runs, I focused solely on getting trophies like Nightlord Slayer, where you have to beat 3 Nightlords in a row, and Set and Steadfast for getting a full inventory of purple or higher rarity loot. I honestly am not sure what the exact requirements of this trophy are, Some forums said talismans and stone sword keys don't count, but I literally got the trophy while I had both a stone sword key and a talisman in my inventory. So I don't know. Just pick up every purple or gold item you find, even if you drop it afterwards, and cross your fingers that this trophy pops. Finally, I got mastery for getting to level 15 for the first time. The strategy I had for this trophy consisted of clearing as many camps and everjails as possible, picking up any gold pickled foulfoots I could find on day 1, then going to the castle on day 2 and praying I got Crucible Knights and not these insufferable jar-throwing giant dickheads. Starting from the boss under the castle, work your way up clearing out as many enemies as you can before the storm closes in. You can also equip any relics that have increased rune acquisition, but although they do help a little bit, you can just as easily get to level 15 without them. After all of that, you should have more than enough runes to get the trophy before the day 3 boss. I want to take a moment to talk about the 8 playable characters, since the requirement for a champion's path is to defeat a Nightlord as each one. The wording is a little confusing because it states that you must defeat the Nightlord, and I was worried that meant defeating Night Aspect, but no. This can be completed with any boss, so take a deep breath and don't get your jimmies in a bunch. To get this done the fastest, you would want to defeat each Nightlord with a different character, so I'll talk about each one in order of which boss I think they're best suited for. This is just my opinion based on personal experience and the base stats that each character has. There really is no right character, and if you want to use whoever you want, that's fine too. For Tricephalos, you want holy damage, so I would use Recluse for her S-scaling and Faith, since you won't have access to Revenant just yet. She's a sorceress most recognizable by her big, hat. Her skill and ultimate art didn't make much sense to me at first, but she can be really OP if you use her correctly. Basically, you want to hoard as many staffs and seals as possible with different spells on them, so you can collect the affinities into your magic cocktail. Once you have 3 affinities, depending on the combination, you'll cast a spell that corresponds to that combination. Then you can use your ultimate art to restore your lost FP and make enemies take more damage for a short period of time. Next, I would suggest fighting Sentient Pest, since the relic you receive for defeating Gladius gives your weapon fire affinity. Raider is probably your best option here since he can hyper armor through a lot of the Scorpion's attacks. Taking damage builds up your skill activation, and if you wait for it to glow blue, you'll do a poise breaking attack that is perfect for the second phase of this fight. His ultimate art is great for getting high ground and giving yourself a moment to recuperate before laying the smackdown once again. I love Raider. Gaping Jaw is weak to poison damage, so use the relic you got from beating the bug duo and equip it to Duchess. She has fast attacks that can build up the poison quickly, and her enhanced dodge will let her easily slip through the Gaper's attacks and get away when he starts shooting lightning everywhere. I would also try to get a secondary weapon like the Reduvia so you can elaborate on her restage skill whenever the bleed procs. Duchess can be a huge asset to the team, and I would not underestimate her. Iron Eye is the only Nightfarer you should be using on Augur. What are you even doing? Yeah, so when I said there's no right character to use, there was one exception to that statement. Iron Eye is just OP, and is extremely useful in almost every encounter. His skill creates weak points similar to Monster Hunter, and makes it easier to break poise and do a lot of damage. Plus, his ultimate art is great for ad clearing, and staggers pretty much every boss. Archery has never been that great in Souls games, but I'm glad they finally nailed it in this game. Although he's not my favorite to play, I have no shame in saying that Iron Eye is an S-tier Nightfarer. Fuck this guy. Revenant is who I would pick just because she's the only one besides Recluse who can make good use of the Madness Seal, but the drop rate is so low and she's so squishy that you're more than likely getting one-tapped by everything. Honestly, use whoever you want because this dude is not going down without making you sit in the cuck chair a few times while he demolishes the rest of your team. Revenant is dope though, and I like the name of her summons a lot. Fart Ripped Knight is another one of the play whoever you want bosses, but I personally like using Executor. He's pretty easy to parry, and Executor's ultimate art does a lot of poise damage, opening an opportunity for one of your teammates to punish with a riposte. Lightning is this boss's weakness, so I equipped a nifty little relic I had that had the Ash of War Lightning Strike to my starting katana. That helped me focus on leveling up and grabbing whatever materials I needed rather than frantically running camp to camp searching for a lightning weapon. You want to utilize this when he spins around and does this charge up move, signaling that he's about to royally push your whole team's shit in. Just stay calm and don't stop attacking, and you should stagger him just fine. Wilder has a lot of mobility with his grappling hook, making him perfect for fighting Fissure in the fog and retreating during AoE attacks. That and his ultimate art does a ton of damage if you can hit a headshot. This is arguably one of my favorite boss fights in the game. Between the music, the choreography of its attacks, and the undeniable similarities to Seed the Scaleless from Dark Souls 1, I can't help but grin the entire time I'm fighting this flying behemoth. Now you might be asking yourself, what about Guardian? And I don't mean to offend any of you, but I personally don't like playing him that much. I've just never really been a fan of the shield poke playstyle, and as clutch as his ultimate art is for picking up down teammates, I haven't had much luck playing him, so yeah, sorry. His lore is super cool, and I like that he has that prodigal son, the last of my kin revenge story energy to him, so he has that going for him at least. But I've yapped your ear off enough, so let's wrap up this video and talk about the final trophies. With each of the previous bosses beaten and out of the way, you should have set yourself up to pop the remaining trophies left for the game and face the final Nightlord. This 3-armed, moonlight greatsword wielding, first phase fake out piece of shit loves to do that thing where he acts like he's done comboing you before throwing a zinger at you full speed while you're mid-flask. So naturally, I had to use my boy Executor. If you've watched my other videos before, you know that Sekiro was my first Souls experience. That game is full of bosses with wonky ass timed moves like this, so I was already conditioned to bide my time and focus on breaking posture with my parries before going in for big damage. If ever there was a match made in hell, it was between me and this guy. I love doing the Remembrance quest for this character, even though it kinda created more questions than it answered, like why are there 2 Executors? And who is this young lady that he felt the need to commit seppuku for? Why does one of my nuts hang down lower than the other? I think the very intelligent and beautiful Miss Chalice does a great job of answering those questions for the most part, so the link to her video is in the description if you haven't seen it. On the topic of remembrances, they're not required for any trophies, but I think you should still check them out. I enjoyed helping Raider lay his old friend to rest. I loved getting to reconcile Revenant's trauma and learn that her real name is Chloe. It was really cool to see Duchess and Wilder reconnect for reasons that I won't spoil. On the surface, Nightreign may seem like a cash grab or an asset flip, but FromSoft always puts an insane amount of effort into these games, and that is evidently apparent to the people willing to search for it. But enough glazing. Now it was time for my final expedition. I equipped my best relics and prepared for the coming battle. With 2 of my best men at my side, we set out to end the reign of the Nightlord. I always try to give credit to the composers of these games because they're always filled with insane bangers. This might actually be my favorite soundtrack out of all the FromSoft games. So with my infinite gratitude, Choi Miyazawa, Soma Tanizaki, Tai Tomisawa, Yuka Kitamura, and Yoshikazu Takayama. Spin that shit. After bringing an end to the night and popping a whopping 3 trophies at once, those being Night Aspect, Nightlord Conqueror, and Dawn, you will have one final task to complete before achieving your platinum. Walk to the end of the Roundtable, watch the credits roll, and head to the Small Jar Bazaar and buy the final chalice that you unlock for defeating the Night Aspect. With that, you will pop both Obtained Vessel and finally, your platinum, Nightreign. There it is. I'd like to give a special shout out to my friends who helped make this trophy hunt so much less of a grind than it could have been. Like I said in the beginning of the video, these games act as keepsakes. And like the Nightfarers, if I ever lose sight of who I am, I can always look back on these memories and be reminded of why I'm here. If you made it this far in the video, I mean this in the most sincere way, thank you. I do this not only for myself, but also for you guys who love this stuff just as much as I do. My goal is to reach 500 subs by the end of the year, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you want. I try to reply to everyone to show how much your support means to me. I also stream all of my trophy hunting content on Twitch, so if you want to see the action live, then link is in the description. I hope you all have a great day and stay safe out there, but that's all for now. Peace.